Hello and welcome to Wednesday's ESPN FC Live. Mark Donaldson alongside Shaka Hislop for this one. International breaks over. Shaq, back to domestic action this weekend. Are you a fan
hmm
of the international break, sir?
Uh, it depends. If Toronto Tobago are winning, I'm a big fan. If we're not, then not so much. And this international break, we
Yeah.
won one, drew one, needed to win both. So I'm a little bit on the fence, man. But let's move on. I can't, I can't take the stress of being a Toronto Tobago fan much longer.
You tried being Scottish. We were absolutely rubbish in two games and won them both.
Uh,
I don't know if we
See,
dull
I'm
and
settled for that. I'm settled for that
rough.
right now.
Well,
We
here's the
were
thing,
really
right?
good in two games.
This is the thing with
Boy.
Scotland fans. A lot of us are complaining, oh, the football's not good. We're Scotland. We've not been to a World Cup since Burley got sent off with his blonde hair in 98.
Oh
I
boy.
don't care how bad we are if we qualify for the United States. And then maybe one day we'll get Trinidad in the first game. Anyway, we digress. Let's speak about the
Yeah,
Premier
we do.
League this weekend. We're going to look shortly at the big one, Liverpool against Manchester United. But we're going to start with Nottingham Forest against Chelsea. And Chelsea might be the bigger team and at the right end of the table. But for me, the narrative here is Ange Postecoglou. What's going on here? What's the deal with him and Marinakis? Has he got a long-term future at the football club? The bottom line is, he's got to start winning soon, Shaq.
Yeah, listen, kind of given Marinakis's history as it comes to changing managers, I, you're not quite sure how much time Postecoglou does have. Listen, I thought everything about Marinakis and Nuno Espirito de Santo dating back to last season was just I thought bemusing to me. Somebody looking in from the outside. Um, that as I say, I think it started last season, picked up steam over the summer, and then kind of came to a head very early on this season. Um, Santos has moved on, and Marinakis decided to go for Postecoglou, who couldn't be more different from Nuno Espirito de Santo, who was very defensive, very organized, very pragmatic, didn't really want his teams to have the ball, was comfortable with 30% possession, but could break on you quickly. High was pretty um troublesome from on the counter attack. And then you bring in to succeed him mid-season, okay, early season albeit, but a manager who wants to press high up the park, wants to play this high tempo, this high defensive line. Um, it couldn't be any more different. And
Mm.
as a result, I think well, quite clearly, Nottingham Forest have struggled. They've struggled because they don't have the players to play Postecoglou's style of football, and they're still trying to figure out that new style themselves while trying to win games. And well, feeling in that last part anyway. I'm not sure how long it can continue without a change being implemented because right now, Forest are plummeting towards the championship.
Yeah, and they're certainly not better off than they were under Nuno, but maybe
No.
Marinakis should just do the job himself because he clearly thinks he knows best. Is this a good time to get some of the bigger teams? And this is more a generalistic question because we've got the games with Man City against Everton, we've got Arsenal at Fulham, we've got Chelsea at Forest, and most teams have got players away on international duty now. But for some of the bigger boys, if they've got players away in South America, is this a good time, if there is a good time for Forest to get Chelsea?
I'm not sure. Well, it all depends on how many players you have away. And now, again, you go in you're trying to change styles. Maybe Forest didn't have many players away on international duty. I apologize. I did not count how many players Forest have away on international duty. So it gave Postecoglou an opportunity to work with his team a little more intently in trying to figure out some of these issues. Chelsea have had a lot of players away on international duty, some of them traveling long distances and coming back. So maybe from that regard, it's a it's a good time. But that I think is just you're kind of grasping at straws a little bit here. I think Forest problems are deep rooted. I'm not sure that that's simply Maresca not having all his charges for the same period that Postecoglou does somehow bridges that gap. I guess at some point Nottingham Forest is going to win a game, and the big question is who. But right now, I'm not sure who that team is. They just have not been playing good football at all.
Yeah, they've not beaten Chelsea at home since they came back into the top flight. Haven't beaten them since the late 90s at home because they've not played them that much. Manchester City against Everton. Everton's record at Manchester City, whether it was at Main Road or whether it's at the Etihad now, is not good. I've got Leighton Baines and Tim Cahill scoring the 2 goals
Wow.
the last time Everton won there at Shaq. That was nearly Christmas time 2010. This is a different Man City. This is a Man City that's allowing the opposition more possession. But this is an Everton side that are facing one of the best strikers in world football in Erling Haaland. How do you stop him?
Let me put it this way. If I had the answer to that, Mark, I would be a very wealthy man. I'm not sure how you stop Erling Haaland, and you've seen it again on international duty. He right now he is the most lethal striker in world football, as you say. I'm sure Kylian Mbappe will want to have something to say about that, but you can make a game plan for Kylian Mbappe. I'm not sure you can for Erling Haaland, and that's the challenge for David Moyes and Everton here. How do you stop Erling Haaland? I guess the only answer to that is in stopping the service. Whether it's coming from deep, it balls of the chop. If that happens, he can't be one-on-one with the defender. Maybe it's from crosses. You've got to track his runs. All you can do is hope to stifle him or hope to stifle the service into Erling Haaland. Other than that, in terms of one-on-one battles, I'm not sure that there's a defender on the planet who will relish that.
Just looking at the table, obviously, with Arsenal not playing until later, Liverpool not playing until Sunday, Spurs not playing until later, we could have Manchester City and Bournemouth at the top of the table. And from a City perspective, if they both win, I'm not saying they were written off at the start of the season, but they were dismissed as that isn't happening right now. Have they got better, or have other teams ahead of them come back to the chasing pack?
Well, Liverpool certainly has come back to the chasing pack, and I know you speak about them in more detail in a minute. And it's been a weird early season. I was saying exactly this about Newcastle, I think, when we last spoke, Mark, a couple of weeks ago, that the season feels so much better than the league table suggests. And for City, similarly, you just feel like they haven't hit their stride yet, that they've kind of struggled. They're closer to the City we saw last season than to the City we saw 2 seasons ago. But they're what, one win off the top of the table to your point, and while again, you look at right now, Arsenal are our favorites. Certainly, they're my favorites to win.
Yeah, fair.
From what we've seen so far this season, and again, it's early, but still, you have this feeling about Arsenal as the best team in the league, and City are one mistake away from being joined with Arsenal. It just, the season just hasn't felt that way to me about either of those two, and that's the weird thing with this season so far.
Either you froze or you haven't. You've stopped talking. That's always good to know. It's always worth checking. Given my history on this show recently of muting and then forgetting to unmute, I just wanted to. Poor Don Hutchinson thought it was him because he's a bit of a technophobe. That was on ESPN Live a couple of weeks ago. It's all good. So thank you for finishing the sentence. Right. Fulham against Arsenal. What do we expect from this one? You played in a few London derbies. They're more competitive when you face a team from the same city. Arsenal play well, Arsenal win, but Fulham are that 2 or 3 times a season they produce that result you don't expect them to produce. Is this one of them, or is this an Arsenal? Yeah, back to normal, 3 points up the road.
Well, I think you're absolutely right about Fulham. I think this is a very good Fulham team, and everything you say about them is spot on. They can really throw up a surprise when you're not expecting it. They are probably a better footballing team than, well, certainly I would give them credit for. Kind of give them the history of Fulham Football Club. I think this team is as good a Fulham as we've seen. But similarly, this is as good an Arsenal as we've seen, um, and I expect Arsenal to go there and to win it. It's not going to be easy for all the reasons that you just pointed out. It's a London derby, maybe not either of these clubs' most heated of London derbies, but it's a London derby. But ultimately, it's going to come down to who are the better team. That's Arsenal. I know that doesn't stand up 38 games out of 38. Um, and in fact, it's at these moments that I thought these kinds of games that I thought Arsenal dropped too many points in last season. I feel this is where Gyökeres finds his value in
Mhm.
turning some of those draws against teams that are down the table into wins. So maybe he finds his name on the score sheet. But whichever way, we just how you look at these two teams, I just can't look past Arsenal as going there and getting all 3 points.
Big game this weekend on Sunday, Liverpool against Manchester United. It's nearly a
Yeah.
decade, nearly 10 years since Manchester United last won at Anfield. Here's the Liverpool team they beat. This tells you how long ago it was. Simon Mignolet in goal, Nathaniel Klein, Kolo Toure, Mamadou Sakho and Alberto Moreno, Henderson, Leva and Chan in midfield. Listen to this for a front three for Liverpool. James Milner, Roberto Firmino and Adam Lallana. In the time since, that's a long time ago, but Man United got scalped there by 7 goals. They've also got a 0-0 draw there in possibly the worst Premier League game of all time. Do you expect them to go there with Amorim and maybe be a defensive 3-4-3 or 3-4-2-1 to
Ooh.
try and frustrate Liverpool? Or what do you think is going to happen on Sunday?
That's a good question, Mark, because ordinarily I would say, listen, Man United go and as well as Amarim can do, park the bus and hope to pick up a point. But this is not. And again, kind of in contrast to Newcastle and City as we've been discussing, um, Liverpool have not played well this season.
No.
Even when they were on this incredible streak, they have not played well. And now all of a sudden, they haven't won in their last, was it three? And then to your point about being away on international duty, Arne Slot wants to work with this team, but wouldn't have had the opportunity to over the last couple of weeks. This is as good an opportunity for Manchester United as well, any city in the last 10 years. So this is more about Manchester United, I think, than Liverpool. And this is, I don't know what to expect from Manchester United
No,
anymore.
but
I
their
I
fans
I,
don't know.
I really don't. And the more here I'm going to speak, the more kind of frustrated I get with it. Not that I give two hoots about Manchester United. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of anybody. Mark, don't give
Yes,
two hoots
Jack.
about anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, um, but it's just it. I Liverpool win this at home.
They should.
And again, this is more about Manchester United than it is about Liverpool. That just speaks to Manchester United's kind of um, impotence for so much of this season.
I'm trying to think what gear. If fifth gear's top gear, where Liverpool are right now, second, maybe. And the reason I bring that up is because
They're
they're second
grinding
in the
away
table.
at the gearbox. They're grinding away the gearbox, Liverpool. Oh man,
But
they need a tune-up.
but when you get into top gear, Liverpool, they're uncatchable.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
that's the thing. So I'm trying to look at it from the perspective of all is not well at Anfield right now by the standards they have set themselves. But they've been top. They were only a point behind right now. And once it all clicks, this is the thing. Just because it hasn't clicked yet, but at which point that we're still saying that? Is it next month? Is it next week? Is it starting to become a bit of a worry for Liverpool?
And the longer it goes on, quite clearly it becomes a worry. And the longer it goes on with these poor results that we saw over the last couple of weeks, it becomes a worry. Because we were seeing exactly this when Liverpool was scoring consistently in the 94th minute in the early part of the season. That, yeah, listen, it's not working, but it will, and they're winning games. So that just speaks to how good they'll be once it all kind of comes together. Now you've lost in Europe, you've lost domestically. Everybody's kind of looking around for a scapegoat almost. Certainly, some sections of the media and the fan base are looking for a scapegoat. And the longer it continues, I think the more that pressure mounts. And that's the difficulty of this Liverpool, because I'm with you. You look at the talent on paper. This is a better team than won the Premier League last season, but it just has not worked for whatever reason. What that reason is, Arne Slot is trying to figure out, but he's got to get a better tune of his new big money signings, without question.
We'll talk about Mohamed Salah and others shortly in our kind of any other business section of today's ESPN FC Live. But we've had a few comments in from a couple of Man United fans as well. One of them saying that Man United's the type of side right now that will go to Anfield and either draw or win. Amorim will be celebrated and then they'll lose at home to Brighton in their next game. You can see that happening, Shaka.
Absolutely. In the last game against Sunderland, that's exactly what I said. Sunderland came into that game flying, or a bit newly promoted team, and any other deal, maybe any other season, maybe even any other manager, you would think that's a foregone conclusion. But whenever Manchester United managers, certainly over the last few years, have found themselves in the most trouble, they've somehow got a result and kind of kick that conversation as to, when are they going to get sacked for another week or two. And Amorim was the same. I saw that Sunderland result coming. And similarly, you won't be surprised for Manchester United to go there, take the lead, maybe Liverpool score late equalizer, and Amorim is doing his post-game press conference, talking about how good they are and everything's working again. And then, next week they go and lose to Grimsby again.
I mean, Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out and said he's fine for 3 years. I don't think in 3 years' time he'll still be the manager.
No.
Whether or not Sir Jim Ratcliffe's still involved with the football club, I'm also not sure. I would think there's more chance of Sir Jim Ratcliffe being there in 3 years. But as we kind of transition over to your kind of 3 talking points coming out of international break, we'll stay with the same theme of Liverpool and Man United to begin with. Time frame for Amorim. Has it changed now with the comments from Sir Jim Ratcliffe? If you're Amorim,
No.
Has that given you a little bit more pep in your step?
No, it shouldn't. Wait,
Okay.
listen. Those comments come after beating Sunderland at home, as I said. Now, had you lost to Sunderland, there's absolutely no way Sir Jim Ratcliffe says that. There's a very different conversation.
Sure.
So if you're telling me that Amorim's potential tenure for 3 years or for 3 days hinges on a Sunderland result, you don't know what you're doing in terms of running a football club. It cannot be that. It can't be that simple. 1 or 2 more bad results on the spin, and we're having a very different conversation.
This just seems like a broken record, Shaq. Forget who the manager is, but over the past, 3-4 years, it was the same with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It was the same with Erik ten Hag. It was that, they're 1 game away from sacking the manager, then they get a great win. And then that puts it back for another 3-4 weeks. And then, he's just 1 or 2 games away from being sacked. You can't keep going for that. I've got another question in from a fan that's watching. I'm assuming it's a Man United supporter. Give me a 1, 2, 3 here as far as who's ultimately to blame the most. Okay, your 3 choices: the ownership, the players, or the manager.
The ownership.
Number 1.
Easy. Without question. And while I say Jim Radcliffe has kind of put himself forward and been getting mostly peppering of late, the Glazers and their ownership. Now, I am a firm believer that what happens in the boardroom affects what happens out on the pitch. The Glazers' ownership has been an absolute disaster. It's made them a fortune, but in terms of this football club, the results of this football club, the standing of this football club, it's been an absolute disaster. That's where I think the bulk of the blame lies, and I will not shift from that.
So riddle me this. Marcus Rashford, not wanted at Old Trafford, goes to Barcelona, is doing well. Scott McTominay, not wanted at Old Trafford, goes to Serie A, doing well with Napoli and winning the Scudetto. And now we're seeing Rasmus Højlund. Couldn't hit a barn door with you-know-what when he was at Manchester United. Don't know why, but now he leaves the football club and he goes on to do well. This isn't just like a small sample size of one player. There's a whole host of examples here. Why is that?
There's something happening within that club that I think is affecting so much else. And then again, maybe, as I said, I certainly believe the ownership have a big part to play in that. But there is something rancid within this club that's affecting.
What could it be, Shaka? You're a former player. You know what football teams are like.
Yeah, but I've never seen this before. I've never seen the number of players. No, you've seen players fail at a club and go somewhere else, and the style suits. But I have not seen a player go from disinterested. Marcus Rashford couldn't be more disinterested with everything about Manchester United, and then takes a step up and goes to Barcelona. Now, I thought that was Barcelona just adding to their squad strength, right? I wasn't sure how many games Marcus Rashford would play. Saying that, they've got a whole heap of injuries, so he probably start for Barcelona this weekend. But he's gone there, and he is better than we've seen him since that spell post 2022 World Cup, where he was just absolutely on fire, arguably the best player in the Premier League. For Barcelona, a step up.
Right.
Now, again, maybe if you want to make an argument about Højlund and McTominay and be better suited to Serie A, and you'll have the Premier League fans saying it's nowhere near as high a standard. Make what you like of that. But Marcus Rashford kind of debunks
doesn't
that
fit the
theory.
narrative, does it?
Exactly. Exactly. So it says a lot to me about there is some undercurrent within that club that is affecting everybody.
And no one seems to know what it is. If an ex-footballer doesn't know what's wrong, and Manchester United players don't know, because the easy one would say, oh, maybe the club's too big for them. And then Rashford goes to a bigger club and does better. So that debunks
exactly.
that myth.
So that's the easy answer. And again, I don't think we've seen this before anywhere. You've seen it with a couple of individuals, with a couple of individual clubs, but you have not seen it with a group of players going to as different clubs as you've seen with Manchester United and their players. Whether we're talking Anthony going to Betis, you could just keep adding to the list. It's ridiculous.
Who's in form more right now? Because they're both in form, but who's playing better and is contributing better right now? Is it Erling Haaland, who you could argue is the world's best striker, or recently is it Kylian Mbappe? He's got 12 goal contributions for club and country in his last 10.
Recently, it's Kylian Mbappe. When you look at Real Madrid, their success is sitting top of La Liga, and how the role that Kylian Mbappe has played in that. Now, again, that's not to minimize Erling Haaland's contribution, because God alone knows where Manchester City would be if he was scoring. Nobody else is. In truth, I think he's got 11 or 12, something like that, and then next is Foden with 2 goals. Nobody's scoring. So I give Kylian Mbappe the nod, just simply because Real Madrid are sitting top of their domestic league. Even if they aren't performing that well in Europe, I give Kylian Mbappe the nod for right now, current form.
Okay. Kelleher at Brentford. Quimine Kelleher's last 3 penalty saves. How about this? Mbappe,
Right.
Bruno, and Ronaldo. So it got me thinking. I was delving into the archives of ESPN FC. Now, there's a website that says you only saved 1 penalty in your career, and it was from Michael Owen. First of all, is that right?
I don't think so. I'm fairly certain I saved a penalty from Dwight York when he was
Okay.
playing for Villa.
Okay. Well, this one has got the FA Cup, Portsmouth against Liverpool. You won 1-0
I
in
remember
February 2004. So Michael
February
Owen.
22nd. It was my birthday.
Wow, very good.
Yeah.
And potentially one from Dwight York. This is weird. My uncle had a 40% saving record for penalties when he was at Dundee back in the 60s and played against Leeds in the semi-final or whatever. So some goalkeepers are just really, really good at saving penalties. What's the secret?
Well, first of all, I think a lot of these goalkeepers today doing their homework a lot more. So they know takers better sides or preferred sides. And then a lot of it is into the timing of that first move. Because a lot of these better penalty takers, what they also do is they wait for the goalkeeper to move. They can go either side. Have a preferred side, yes, but wait for the goalkeeper to move and then react to that. So I think the timing of that first move is also absolutely key into you saving penalties. And yes, I saw your uncle there.
There he is. Ali Donaldson. That's his tops card from 19
Oh, very
canteen.
nice.
There you go. So that's a nice way to end today. Premier League returns this weekend. And also, I was even going to get into Florian Wirtz, but we'll leave that for now, simply because at the start of the season, I thought he was an obvious one for fantasy Premier League managers. The reason I bring that up is simply because at the end of every Friday on ESPN FC Live, you get your FPL tip for the weekend. Right now, it would be to avoid Florian Wirtz, but he will come good. And if Liverpool hit top gear instead of crunching those gears, then watch out. But Shaka has still got Arsenal as favourites for the Premier League. We'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.